We've always been asking that when are African leaders going to stand up to the oppressors? It is very interesting to see that South Africa is standing up to Donald Trump's threats. I'm going to give you full details on what exactly Donald Trump did and what he's saying to the South African leaders and what exactly South African leaders are doing that I think it is going to be a very good thing as far as African continent is concerned. This is What's Up Today. My name is Cyril Ramaphosa and I am Dynamic.
He's about to go now.
Ladies and gentlemen, now South Africa had independence on the December 11th, 1931. But aside getting independence in 1931, the British monarch was still the head of state up until 1961, where South Africa gained its liberation. There was a moment where South Africa experienced apartheid. A clear line was drawn in South Africa that if you are white, you are not supposed to fellowship with a black. If you are black, you are supposed to mind your own business. You are supposed to live within the black community. And if you are white, you are supposed to live between, or you are supposed to live within the white community. Now, what this brought was that although the land belongs to them, although they were having their own countries, but they were not supposed or they were not allowed to live and explore their own lands. They were having boundaries. So a lot of black people were affected by this, apartheid, that a lot of people lost their lands to the whites. And who were you going to talk to? If you are a black that has lost a land, who is going to fight for you? And that was the thing. Now, way back, it wasn't as if the blacks didn't get people to talk to them or to talk for them or to talk on behalf of them. But the problem was that, Africans and how we sometimes behave or relate to the white people, we always want them to feel at home. That sometimes we forget that doing so, we end up hurting our own people. Fast forward, we are in 2025. And the leaders of the South African have realized that, look, a lot of harm has been done. A lot of things were done that needs to be corrected. So they've decided to correct all their wrongs. Now, it was way back in 2018 that the president of the day, Cyril Ramaphosa, decided that, look, everybody that has lost land, everybody that has lost the land or property because of this apartheid or something, if your land was badly taken or illegally taken away from you, they are going to give justice to you. So in this case, Cyril Ramaphosa decided to give justice to the people who had lost their lands. So if the whites were getting everything that they needed and nothing was being done about it, then it should tell you that the whites are greatly going to be affected as far as Cyril Ramaphosa decided to bring justice to the people of South Africa. So it was around this period that some of the white people decided to complain, or they started talking that the South African government or South African president is not doing justice to them. It's not treating them fairly, forgetting that they have stolen some of their lands belonging to the South African people. Ladies and gentlemen, it was around this time that, Donald Trump, who was the president then, way back in 2018, brought up a tweet. And this was what Donald Trump said. South Africa is confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly. It is a bad situation that the radical left media doesn't want to so much as attention. As mentioned, a massive human rights violation at its minimum is happening for all to see. The United States won't stand up. The United States won't stand for it. We will act. Also, I will be cutting off all future funding to South Africa until a full investigation of this situation has been completed. So Donald Trump issued this threat that he has seen what Cyril Ramaphosa and his people are doing in South Africa. That is reclaiming the lands that belong to the people from the white people. So in this case, Trump is saying that, look, if my people are using the land, let them use it. You are not supposed to take it back. If you do that, you are confiscating the land that is belonging to the white people. Forgetting that the land was once South African people's land, and the whites came for it. Now, so once these tweets came, Cyril Ramaphosa, who was the president then, decided to, comment or react to that. And this was what Cyril Ramaphosa said in 2018.
This issue that Donald Trump fears so much, we offer this question of the land. I don't know what Donald Trump has to do with South African land, because he's never been here. And he must keep his America, we will keep our South Africa. That is what he must do. South Africa is our land. South Africa belongs to all the people who live here in South Africa. It does not belong to Donald Trump. He can keep his America. And Ene is even worse. He's even worse. When I meet him, I will tell him. I'll say, you, Donald Trump, you are even worse, because your forebears came to America. They found the native, the indigenous Americans. They wiped them out. They killed nearly all of them. Rine, we are living as a nation, and black and white, we are going to find solutions for our land question. So Donald Trump must leave us alone. He must leave us alone, Gauri. When we were facing apartheid, when we were facing oppression, he was not here. He did not fight side by side with us. And we were able, on our own, yes, with support of progressive forces in the world, to resolve the apartheid question. As far as I recall, Donald Trump was not around the negotiating table when we negotiated the end of apartheid. So stick around there in the White House. We will do our business here, and we will find solutions for our problem. So stay out of our issues, and we will not get involved in your issues in America. You have your own problems. Leave us alone.
So this was Cyril Ramaphosa issuing a very big statement to Donald Trump that he should mind his own business. They are saying that Donald Trump should be in America and they will be in South Africa. Everybody should mind his or her own business. Now, let me just take you back or down the memory lane. This is the same thing that the Americans did to Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, if you can remember. They did the same thing and told Robert Mugabe, that Robert Mugabe should just back down, else they are going to cut down funds to Zimbabwe. They are going to do this, they are going to do that. That has always been their antics. And yes, they did it. And you can see that Zimbabwe economy crashed right from the time they began to just cut off their funds and everything. No, that was the beginning of the end of the Zimbabwean economy. So it is the same threats that they keep giving to the African leaders. Anytime they want to enforce their way, anytime they want to have their way out, they just come out telling you that they are going to cut off all funds. Now, in 2025, Donald Trump was asked whether what he said, whether the tweets that what he tweeted about, like cutting off all funds to South Africa and the rest, whether he's going to do that to some number of African countries, or it is just going to be about the South African. And this is what Donald Trump said.
So you said that you were going to cut aid from South Africa. Will you plan to cut aid across other African nations, and why South Africa?
No, it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
And on the back.
So that is Donald Trump talking about how South Africans are confiscating lands, talking about, he made mention of South African leaders doing things that are not right. Now my question is Donald Trump the president of America or the president of the world? That is the question. Because if somebody is having issues with his lands, how does that affect you? And this is where I agree with Cyril Ramaphosa that when they were on the negotiation table, when they were trying to find solutions to the apartheid, you, Donald Trump, you were not on the negotiation table. They've had series of problems that you were not part of it. You didn't come out with solutions to how they were going to deal with a whole lot of issues that they faced as a nation. So what makes you think that this time around you are going to have solutions to their problems? Trump is saying that for South Africans to say that they are taking the lands that belong to them, that they didn't know how to take it, or they are now going the route of justice. They are serving justice to the South African citizens who lost their lands to the apartheid, who lost their land and who have been losing their lands to the white people. You should call these people, you are calling them these leaders not doing the right thing. But when the apartheid was working, in times of the apartheid, in times where the white people were dominating the blacks in South Africa, nobody coughed about it. Nobody talked about it. And then you people thought it was justice. But when the table turned, you are saying they are doing bad things. Now, there is one person in South Africa that has the mouthpiece. In fact, he talks about anything. Julius Malema, the leader of the EFF party. Julius Malema, however, also talked about the issue, also fired back or clapped back to Donald Trump's threats.
A statement by Donald Trump is offensive and undermines our sovereignty, and is a reminder that our reliance on foreign aid and foreign direct investment surrenders us to the will of imperialists who use money to dictate the economic and policy direction of Africa. We want to make it categorically clear to the President of the USA that we are going to expropriate land without compensation and pursue legislative measures to do so, and no threat will stop us. His misinterpretation of the Expropriation Act, which is a mild and cosmetic intervention, is an assessment of a measure that is going to be pursued through the amendment of our Constitution as South Africans, and there is nothing he can do to undermine our independence. The EFF reiterates its position that we must build state capacity, build a strong agricultural and industrial nation which will not depend on the West, and intensify trade relations with progressive nations such as China, Russia, and nations within BRICS who do not use foreign policy as an instrument to impose their will or bully other nations into submission.
So Julius Malema has said everything that was in my mind. Look, how can you say that a country has gained its Republican status when the country cannot think for itself? Why do you embrace democracy? Why do you say that this country is independent when you don't allow the country to make its decision? And when you always interfere in the country's economic, policy directions? It doesn't make sense. And that is the more reason why I think that what the US is doing to the South African is rather just driving them towards the brick. Because if care is not taken, we will end up seeing South Africa joining the BRIC nation. And this is one thing that I like about the BRIC nation. You see, they don't suppress you. Not just because they are supporting you doesn't mean that they should just cut off your throat. They should just impose their will on you. That's not what they do. When you have somebody holding the knife at your throat, that is difficult. It is difficult to even think. And my point exactly is what Julius Malema is talking about. It's about time Africa and the African leaders has to know, say, you have to build your own country. Africa has to build its own continent. Over-reliance of the foreign aids is too much. And that is not making Africa think about itself. Always, if you want to do things that will serve you and your own interest and purpose, they will come in with their threats. So at the end of the day, you see that the African leaders are quarreling. If South Africa have their own economy, which is booming, I don't think South Africa will be needing US money. Now, the mineral minister and energy in South Africa, that is the minister in charge of the mineral resources and energy, Mr. Samson Mantashe. Now, Mr. Samson Mantashe talked about how South Africans are blessed with the natural resources. South Africa has mineral resources, which the US needs. And the South African equally needs US money. So they are saying that if the US, in this case, if Donald Trump is saying that he's going to cut off every aid that he renders to the South African country, then they are as well going to cut off every resources, everything that they also give.
Let's withhold minerals to US. That is it. If they don't give us money, let's not give them minerals. But the reality, they take our minerals, but say we're withdrawing funding. No, we have minerals in the continent, and therefore we have something that we have. We're not just beggars, but we must just use that endowment for our benefit as a continent.
Now, this is Mr. Samson Mantashe. He is the minister in charge of natural resources and energy in South Africa. I like the point that he made that, look, it's not as if Africa is a beggar or Africans have nothing to offer. When it comes to the resources, Africans have, the continent is blessed. We have every resources in Africa. But why do we always end up showing the Western countries that we are beggars? Why do they think that we have nothing to offer on the table? He is saying that if they are saying they are going to withdraw every aid, then we should also withdraw our resources that we also render onto them. I think that is the best. It's about time that Africans have to either rely on its fellow Africans or try to develop on the little that it has. With the number of resources that South Africa is having, I think South Africa can do well on its own. South Africans can do well if indeed they want to show the Western world that they have the capacity and the capability to just take care of their own resources and do their own affairs and manage their own affairs. Because the independence is arguably meaningless until the black man is ready to take charge and manage its own affairs. If not, then I don't know why we even fight for independence. I don't know why Africans will strive, will fight, will die to get independence, and at the end of the day, still be subjected to neocolonialism. Whenever I read about Kwame Nkrumah's book, Neocolonialism, the Last Stage of Imperialism, whenever I read that book, then my heart bleeds. How come Kwame Nkrumah saw this some years ago, but our leaders are failing to see this at this time? What is happening? Africa, we are never poor, but we are intentionally beggars. We've decided to beg because we feel like that is the right way and that is the way that we have to go. If Mali managed to pay all its debts, if Mali, like looking at Mali, nobody even thought Mali could do that. But if Mali was able to pay all its debts, in fact, domestically and globally, what is stopping the rest of the African countries? Why are we keeping on worshiping these people when we know that they don't regard us, when we know that these people don't just give a hoot about us? The very thing that the South African citizens were crying at, the very thing that they were all saying that it's not going on well, the very thing that they were all complaining about, that the whites are taking their lands, the whites are doing this, the whites are doing that in South Africa. These same people who are complaining now never complained. They never coughed about it. So what happened? What changed? That now that they are taking back their land from the whites, now the Americans are talking. Now Donald Trump is talking. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I always say that Africa will be great again. No matter whether rain or shine, Africa will strive. Africa will rise up again, no matter what. This is What's Up Today. Let me know what you think in the comment section. My name still remains Nane Dynamic. See you in the next one. I'm out.
Family 3940 here. Guess what? You are watching Dynamic TV Plus. Keep on watching, subscribe, share, then leave your comments. One time, good luck.